What if the life you're living right now is slowly turning into a regret you can't undo? Not in a dramatic way, in a quiet way. The kind that builds over time. The kind you don't notice until it's too late. You wake up, scroll a little, tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow. And tomorrow, it looks exactly like today. And that's when it hits you. You're not stuck because life is hard. You're stuck because you've learned how to avoid discomfort. Think about that for a second. Every time something feels difficult, you hesitate. Every time something feels uncertain, you delay. Every time something feels uncomfortable, you escape. Not because you're lazy, but because your brain is trying to protect you. And that sounds like a good thing, right? But here's the part nobody tells you. That protection, it's costing you your future. Because pain is temporary. But avoidance, that becomes your identity. Wait till you hear this. The real danger isn't failure. It's living a life where you never even try. Because failure hurts for a moment. But regret stays. It shows up in quiet moments, late at night, early in the morning, in between distractions. A voice that whispers, you could have done more. Be honest, does that feel familiar? Because most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they keep choosing comfort over growth. And at first, it feels harmless. Skipping one workout, delaying one opportunity, ignoring one idea. But those small choices, they stack. Until one day, you look at your life and realize you didn't lose because you weren't good enough. You lost because you never gave yourself a real chance. Now here's where it gets real. Because deep down, you already know what you should be doing. You know the habits you should build. You know the risks you should take. You know the conversations you've been avoiding. So why don't you do it? Why do we keep choosing the easier path, even when we know it leads nowhere? That's the question most people never answer, but you're about to. Because this isn't about motivation, it's about understanding the pattern. Your brain is wired to avoid pain. That's survival. But here's the twist. The kind of pain your brain avoids is the exact pain that leads to growth. The discomfort of starting, the fear of failing, the awkwardness of being a beginner. That's the price of becoming someone new. But instead, you choose the pain of staying the same. And that pain, it's slower, quieter, more dangerous. Because you don't feel it all at once. You feel it over years. Missed chances, wasted potential, unlived versions of yourself. This next part changes everything. You don't need more motivation. You need a different relationship with pain. Because right now, you see pain as something to avoid. But what if pain is actually a signal? A signal that you're about to grow. A signal that you're stepping into something bigger. A signal that you're finally moving forward. But most people misread it. They feel discomfort, and they stop. They feel fear, and they retreat. So they stay exactly where they are. And then they wonder why nothing changes. Here's a quiet truth most people won't admit. Staying where you are hurts too. It just doesn't hurt loudly enough at first. Think about it. That feeling of being stuck, that constant overthinking, that low-level frustration you can't explain. That's pain. You just got used to it. I used to think something was wrong with me because of that, like wasn't built for more. But the truth? I was just avoiding the wrong kind of pain, the kind that actually moves your life forward. So let me ask you something. Right now, Are you choosing temporary pain or permanent regret? Don't answer too fast. Think about it. Because every decision you make today is shaping the story you'll have to live with tomorrow. And whether you realize it or not, you're already choosing every single day. And that choice? It's quieter than you think. It doesn't feel like a big, life-changing decision. It feels small, almost invisible. Choosing to wake up early or hit snooze. Choosing to try or overthink. Choosing to show up or disappear. That's how your life is built, not in giant leaps, but in small, repeated decisions. And that's where most people get it wrong. They're waiting for a big moment, a burst of motivation, a perfect opportunity, a sign that it's finally time. But here's the uncomfortable truth. That moment isn't coming. Because change doesn't start when you feel ready. It starts when you decide to act, even when you're not. And yeah, that feels uncomfortable. It feels uncertain. It feels messy. Good. That's how you know it matters. Now here's the part nobody likes to hear. You're not overwhelmed because your life is too hard. You're overwhelmed because you keep avoiding what matters. Let that sink in. The tasks you keep pushing away, the decisions you keep delaying, the risks you keep avoiding, they don't disappear. They multiply until your mind feels crowded, heavy, stuck. And then you tell yourself, I just need a break. But a break from what? From the life you're not even fully living? That's the trap. Because rest feels good in the moment, but it doesn't fix avoidance. Only action does that. And that's when it hits you. You don't need more time. You need more courage. Because the life you want, it's on the other side of decisions you've been avoiding. But here's where it gets real. Taking action doesn't mean you won't feel fear. You will. Your heart will race. Your mind will doubt. Your comfort zone will fight back. That's normal. That's human. The difference is, you don't listen to it anymore. You move anyway, even if it's messy, even if it's imperfect, even if you feel completely unprepared. Because waiting for confidence, that's another form of avoidance. Confidence doesn't come before action. It comes after. Now think about this. How many times have you said, I'll start when I feel ready? And how many times did that actually happen? Exactly. Because readiness is a myth. It's something your mind uses to delay the moment you have to face discomfort. So instead of waiting, you decide. You decide that discomfort isn't a stop sign anymore. It's a green light. That shift, it changes everything. Because now, every time you feel resistance, you lean in, not away. And yeah, it feels strange at first, doing the hard thing when you don't feel like it, showing up when it's inconvenient, choosing growth when comfort is easier. But over time, something interesting happens. That hard thing, it starts to feel normal. And the things you used to avoid, they lose their power over you. This is where most people never get to, because they quit too early. They feel discomfort, and they assume it's a sign to stop. But what if it's the opposite? What if discomfort is proof that you're finally doing something that matters? Which one are you right now? Someone who avoids discomfort, or someone who leans into it? Don't overthink it. You already know, because your life reflects it. Now here's something most people won't admit. Growth isn't exciting most of the time. It's repetitive.
It's boring. It's showing up again and again without immediate results. And that's where regret is born. Not in failure, but in inconsistency. Because failure teaches you something, but inconsistency, it keeps you exactly where you are. So you stay stuck, not because you can't move forward, but because you won't stay consistent long enough to see change. This next part changes how you see everything. Discipline isn't about forcing yourself. It's about becoming someone who does what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel. And yeah, that sounds simple, but it's not easy, because your feelings will lie to you. They'll tell you to wait, to rest, to delay, and sometimes that's valid. But most of the time, it's just your mind trying to keep you safe. Safe from discomfort, safe from failure, safe from growth. But staying safe comes at a cost. A life that feels small, limited, unfulfilled. So you have a choice. Protect your comfort or build your future. You can't have both.
And here's where things get uncomfortable. Because once you see this pattern, you can't unsee it. You start noticing it everywhere. That moment when you hesitate, that second when you almost act, but don't. That tiny voice that says, later. That's the moment your future is decided. Not in some big, dramatic way, in a quiet, almost invisible shift. You either move forward or you stay exactly where you are. And the scary part? Most people don't even realize they're choosing. They think life is happening to them, but in reality, they're slowly deciding their own limits. Now here's the part that hits hard. You're not tired because you're doing too much. You're tired because you're doing too little of what actually matters. Let that land. Because being busy is not the same as making progress. You can fill your day with distractions, scroll for hours, stay occupied, and still feel empty. Because deep down, you know you're avoiding something. That thing you keep thinking about, that idea you keep pushing away, that version of yourself you keep delaying. Yeah, that's the one. And avoiding it is draining more energy than actually doing it ever would. That's the irony. The pain you're trying to avoid, it's lighter than the weight of regret you're carrying. But here's where it gets real. What if you stopped negotiating with yourself? What if, when you said you were going to do something, you actually did it? No excuses, no delays, no, I'll start tomorrow. Just action. At first, it feels intense, almost unnatural, because you're breaking a pattern of hesitation, a pattern of comfort, a pattern of self-doubt. And your mind will resist, hard. It'll try to pull you back, remind you of your past, tell you it's too late, convince you that you're not ready. But here's the truth. Your past doesn't define your next move. Your next move defines your future. And that's where your power is, right now, in this moment. Not in yesterday's mistakes, not in tomorrow's fears, right here. So you take a step, a small one. Maybe it's uncomfortable, maybe it's imperfect, maybe it's not even that impressive, but it's real. And that matters more than anything. Because action breaks the cycle. The more you act, the less power your doubts have, the less control your fears hold. And slowly, you become someone different. Not overnight, but undeniably. Someone who follows through, someone who takes responsibility, someone who doesn't run from discomfort. And that identity? That's everything. Because once you see yourself that way, you stop questioning if you can do it. You already know you will. Now here's something most people won't say out loud. You're not afraid of failing. You're afraid of finding out what you're actually capable of and realizing you've been playing small this whole time. Sit with that for a second. Because if you try and you actually succeed, there's no going back. No more excuses, no more hiding, no more pretending you can't. You'll have to own your potential. And that's scary, because it comes with responsibility. To show up, to stay consistent, to keep going, even when it's hard. But here's the trade-off. You either carry the responsibility of your potential or the weight of your regret. And one of those gets heavier over time. Most people choose the easier path in the moment. Avoid discomfort, stay safe, delay action. But years later, that easy choice becomes heavy, full of what-ifs, full of missed chances, full of quiet disappointment. And that's the part nobody posts about. Regret isn't loud, it's silent. It shows up when you're alone, when you're thinking, when you realize time kept moving, but you didn't. So let me ask you something real. If nothing changes, if you keep doing exactly what you're doing right now, where will you be in a year? Same habits, same mindset, same excuses. Is that enough for you? Or do you want more? Because wanting more means choosing differently. It means accepting temporary pain for long-term growth. It means doing what most people avoid and becoming someone most people never will. If this is starting to make sense, you're already ahead, because awareness is the first shift. But awareness without action, that's just another form of regret. So don't stop here, because this is the moment most people miss. They understand everything. They feel motivated. They promise themselves, this time it's different. And then they go back to the same patterns. Not because they don't care, but because they didn't change one thing: their standards. See, motivation is temporary, but standards define what you tolerate. And right now, your life is a reflection of what you've been willing to accept. Late starts, half effort, excuses that sound reasonable. That's the baseline. So even when you try to improve, you fall back to that level. Not because you're weak, but because that's what feels normal. So here's the shift. Stop asking yourself what you feel like doing. Start asking yourself what your standards demand. Because feelings change. Standards don't. And when your standards rise, your life follows. This next part changes everything. You don't need to become a completely new person overnight. You just need to stop negotiating with the version of you that keeps holding you back. That voice that says, skip today. That voice that says, it's not that important. That voice that says, you can do it later. That voice? It's not you. It's your comfort zone trying to stay in control. And every time you listen to it, you reinforce the life you don't want. But every time you ignore it, you build the life you do. It's that simple. Not easy, but simple. So you start small. You keep promises to yourself. You follow through on the little things. You do what you said you would do, even when no one is watching. Especially when no one is watching. Because that's where identity is built. In private. And over time, those small actions compound. You become more disciplined, more focused, more in control. Not because you forced it, but because you practiced it. And then one day, you realize something powerful. You trust yourself. Think about that. How many times have you broken your own promises? Said you'd start, but didn't. Said you'd change, but didn't. That breaks trust. And without trust in yourself, everything feels harder. But when you rebuild that trust, everything changes. Because now, when you say you'll do something, you believe it. And that belief? That's confidence. Not fake confidence, not loud confidence. Quiet certainty. The kind that doesn't need validation. Now here's the truth most people avoid. You already know what to do. You don't need another video. You don't need another plan. You don't need more information. You need execution. Because knowledge without action is just potential. And potential without action turns into regret. So this is it. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now. You either continue the cycle, or you break it. You either keep avoiding discomfort, or you start using it. You either live with temporary pain, or permanent regret. There's no middle ground. And yeah, it won't be perfect. You'll mess up. You'll hesitate. You'll have days where you fall back. That's part of it. But the difference now? You don't stay there. You catch it faster. You adjust quicker. You move forward anyway. Because you've made a decision. And decisions, when backed by action, change everything. So here's what matters. Not what you felt while listening to this. Not what you understood. What you do next. Because your future isn't built on intentions. It's built on actions. And every action you take is either moving you closer to the life you want, or deeper into the regret you don't. So choose carefully, because time doesn't wait. And one day, you'll look back at this version of yourself, the one who was thinking about change, the one who felt stuck, the one who knew there was more. And you'll either be proud, or you'll wish you started sooner. If this hit you, if something inside you knows this is real, don't ignore it. That awareness, that's your turning point. If this makes sense, say something. Not for anyone else, just to make it real for you. If this hit home, don't just scroll. Subscribe and start choosing a life you won't regret.